Hey, it's Cullen Moss, and you're listening to Fandom Family Chats.
Hi everyone, I'm Shelby.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Eve.
And today we're talking about One Tree Hill Top 10 Villains. And
okay. How did you guys do your list?
I was going to say, I think I did my list wrong. Me and Eve were talking about it earlier.
I don't think anyone did it wrong. I think we just did it differently, but I don't think it matters. We're just going to hang out and have fun and talk about some...
we'll probably talk about all the villains.
We'll talk about them all. I don't think it matters how we did our list. We'll just explain.
I need to know how you guys did your lists so everybody knows how we did them.
So I did mine scariest, like ones that I would not want anywhere near me, to least scary.
Okay, that's how I did mine.
Okay.
Eve,
I did mine based on the ones that were amusing to watch on screen based on how the actors portrayed them.
Okay, so for 10, I have Tara.
She was my number 9, and
Who?
Tara.
She was the girl that Chris Keller dated, and she had
with the purple hair. She had the
cafe.
Is this season 9?
No, 8.
I'm on season 8 right now.
Was it
in my rewatch? I've seen all the seasons. I'm wrong.
No, it was 9. It was season 9.
Okay, so I've only seen season 9 one time, and that was the actual year it came out in. I hate season 9.
It's terrible, but
I hate season 9. I am a One Tree fanatic. I love it so much. I hate season 9.
So you don't remember Tara? I'm guessing.
Okay, when you said the name, it sounded really familiar. I'm just trying to picture her in my head. I'll look her up. If I see her picture, it'll come back to me. Hold on.
She was mean to Brooke, and she's the one that got X to beat Brooke up, right? Wasn't she? But then she ended up saving Brooke in the parking garage.
Yeah.
Okay. I know who she is.
I did. The one tiny little thing that I did like about Tara being on the show was that she did bring out that vindictive side of Brooke, which was so fun to see because we hadn't seen much of that since like the earlier seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But once she grew up, she didn't do any of that stuff anymore. But then she really brought all that out of Brooke again. So that was really fun.
Yeah. I do remember her now. I had to look at her face.
You remember the story now?
But she's not on my list because I didn't remember her.
She redeemed herself for me when she helped Brooke out. But that's why I have her on the least scary part of it, because like I wouldn't want her in my circle or whatever because she was a jerk, but she's not like psycho. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Look at that. All right, so move on to my number 10. And I put her on the 10 because she did the same. She redeemed herself at the end, which is Victoria Davis.
She's my 7.
I had her at 6.
Really? I think to me she was almost not even a villain at the end. I mean, they got along so well.
I put her higher up because I feel like she made a really big turnaround really, really quickly. By the end of the show, I loved her. At the beginning, I hated her. I was like, she needs to go away. She is crushing Brooke Davis's soul, and that is not okay with me. But
yeah,
I loved her. But not even by the end. Like the last couple seasons, I loved Victoria.
Yeah, like
she was a good grandma too.
Season 4, season 5, Victoria Davis is it season 5 that she's really bad? Yeah, to me, season 4 and season 5, she was a total witchy nightmare. And then she just really redeemed herself in the end. So that's why she's number 10. I couldn't put her any higher. I liked her too much. I had other people I hated more for different reasons.
Okay, Eve, who was your 10?
My number 10, and this person I don't consider a big villain, but I just have them on here because this person was just so amusing, and they are kind of a tiny villain, and that's Chris Keller.
I had him as 9.
He's on my honorable mentions because I love him too much.
See, I love Chris Keller. I did not love him in what season it was season 1 we met him, right?
2, I think.
No, 2. It was 2. You're right. So season
That's what I think
2
too.
is when we meet Chris. I was not a fan. I didn't like him. I wanted him to go away. But then
I liked him even back then.
but once Nathan and Haley fixed things and then Chris was no longer a threat, I was like, I really like him. He's super amusing. He needs to stay around forever.
Like
See,
Chris Keller and what was it, Honeygrove? I love that Chris Keller. I
And
feel
also
bad for her.
Chris Keller and Chase. What an unexpected friendship, but that was so much fun.
Yeah. He got on my nerves. Like the first time around watching, he got on my nerves, but then when I watched it the second time, I didn't mind him as much.
I could definitely see that, because I think rewatching it, I had already fallen in love with him the first time. So rewatching it, I was like, I already love this guy.
Mhm.
Like, I already know Nathan and Haley are going to be fine.
Yeah, the more you watch, the harder it is to dislike him in those earlier seasons.
Yeah.
He's definitely a comedic relief
Yes.
to an extent.
He's just dumb.
I think season 9 Chris Keller is my favorite version.
It when he talks in third person, like that used to get on my nerves, but like it cracks me up now.
I really feel like one of my favorite Chris Keller scenes was him in the car when they're saving Nathan from the kidnapping.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that, if I think of Chris Keller, that is the very first thing that my brain thinks about. Even though I've only seen season 9 once, that's the number one thing that pops into my head.
And then he's running away from the warehouse. Chris Keller doesn't like this.
Yes. Watching Chris Keller and Dan interact is what's so hilarious. Because Dan's like, who is this guy?
I was so shocked that Dan kind of just pulled him onto the team and was like, okay, whatever, you can help. I'm like, Dan is going to murder Chris Keller. And he's not going to feel bad about it.
But let's be honest though, I mean, what a redemption. I mean, going from, practically pretty much competing with Nathan for Haley's heart to being a part of saving his life. I mean, talk about a redemption.
Absolutely. I mean, was Chris annoying 80% of the time? Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
probably even more than that.
I'd say 100% of the time, but I still loved him. He was amusing.
Oh, one of my other favorite Chris Keller moments is when him and Nathan are doing like the poker game. And the little guy. Oh my gosh, that entire scene. And really, when he goes and sells that guitar for Nathan, it just shows you he's a really good person deep down.
Yeah.
He's also, I feel like, has like an only child syndrome where he thinks about himself, and and he wants whatever he wants. And I think that's why Chris Keller was off-putting at first. The only reason Chris Keller is a villain is because he went in between Haley and Nathan.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for that, I think he would have just been a comedic relief through the entire show.
He'd be like basically another Tim.
Yeah. But even better, I feel like. Tim annoyed me more than I liked him.
Oh, I loved him. He was one of my favorites.
I feel like poor Tim was just very flat, like just one note, but Chris kind of took it up a notch to where you really wanted to see him.
Mm-hmm.
No, see, I love Tim. Like, I think I'm in the minority here. Like, Tim was one of my favorite characters.
He annoyed me more than he made me laugh.
I don't hate Tim.
I don't hate him.
I just would not pick him as one of my favorite characters.
No, and he's actually one of those characters to me that I will forget about him sometimes. Just like I forget about Fergie and Chunk sometimes. Even though when I watch the show, I enjoy him and I like him.
They weren't on as much as I wish that they would have been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I do like, not to get off on Tim now, but I felt like I'm glad that they brought Tim back in that one scene when they're in the library.
Mm-hmm.
Because season was at 1 and 2, where you got to see Tim a lot, and then he really just kind of fell off and you didn't really see him anymore.
Yeah, because he was kind of Nathan's shadow, and then Nathan kind of just like dropped him.
Yeah. So I think if he had more screen time, I think I probably would have liked Tim a lot better too. But I feel like anytime he was talking, he was just annoying me.
I
But-
was very excited to see him in season 5 when the girls were all locked in the.
That was my favorite
Yeah,
Tim moment.
Yeah, he started like sauntering down the hallway holding a pizza. I was like, oh my god, it's Tim.
No, when he showed the picture of his kid and you realized that it was Bevan's son. So then you knew Bevan and
And they named him
Tim
Nathan.
had a kid and they named him Nathan.
And he was not the most beautiful looking child, to put it nicely.
And I don't know why, because Tim is not bad looking. He's goofy, but he's not bad looking. And Bevan's pretty. Like, what happened?
It's like, what happened to this poor child? They did not he did not inherit his parents' genes
No.
at all.
Poor guy.
Better ask the milkman.
Okay. Shelby, what's your number 9? Did we already do
Chris.
that?
Chris.
Okay, so it's my number 9.
Mhm.
Okay. My number 9 is Renee.
I didn't remember her. Eve
Right.
told me her list and I was like, who's she? So you guys have to remind me.
She's my number 8.
She got in between Nathan and Haley.
Oh,
As well.
is she the one that was saying that Nathan cheated and he didn't actually cheat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That one, and it was such a blip, but the whole time it was happening, she really irritated me. Like she played a good villain.
She
Because
wreaked a lot of havoc.
Yes,
For
in
just-
that little short time.
Yeah, for just one tiny storyline. I was like, my golly. Yeah, I was not a fan, especially since, she also destroyed Jamie's life.
Yeah. That was
She
another.
destroyed Haley's life, Nathan's life. Like, she destroyed everybody's life, and she wasn't even on for the whole season, was she? It was just a few episodes.
I'm glad that Haley finally seen through it though. I mean, it
After
cost
she went to
them a lot.
jail.
Yeah.
She put my girl in jail.
I did not feel bad for Renee. I was like, go Haley. I'm sorry you have to go to jail. But good job.
I was so worth it.
Oh, I love
her
seeing
smack her. Ooh.
Oh, I love seeing Haley smack anyone. She did that to Rachel too, didn't she?
Yeah. So I know this is kind of off, but I love Haley's possessive side when it comes to
Oh, yeah.
Nathan. Like,
Oh yeah.
I love it.
She's very protective over her. I mean, her family, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan or Jamie.
The thing I love about Haley though is it's not necessarily Nathan she's protective over, it's their relationship that she's protective over. Like, she does not want anyone coming in and destroying their relationship. It's not just about Nathan because she trusts him.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want anyone coming in and messing up
Her family.
Yeah.
She's very protective over her family. I don't feel like as much about Quinn and Taylor, but even like with Quinn, she was very protective over Quinn and her mom, like how hard she took that. It's her family.
So Eve, who's your number 9?
My 9 was Tara.
Tara. Okay.
Mm.
So my number 8 was Rachel.
She's on my honorable mentions.
The only reason I had her on here was because of her pushing Jimmy to do what he did.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I feel like with Rachel, it was more of like her mental health that caused every single issue that she had, whether it was drugs, whether it was exposing people to make herself look better and somebody else look worse. It was always a head game to her. I feel like a lot of Rachel's was childhood trauma. And so that's why she's on my honorable mentions, just because I feel like I feel more bad for her than I ever did like get really mad at her. So I was like, man, you just had like a really sad freaking life.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I don't know. I like Jimmy a lot, and I think that I was a little protective over Jimmy in a way. So I think that that's why I feel the way that I do about Rachel, because like she kind of in a way pushed him to that point. But I mean, like later on, like when she was with Dan, like she was hilarious. I mean, like I feel like she kind of redeemed her. This show has a good way of like having enemies that they redeem themselves too.
Yeah.
with like some of the smaller enemies, not like the big ones, but it's just I feel like in a way she redeemed herself too, but I have her on here because, like I said, I have her low down because I'm not scared of her, but
Yeah.
she was a jerk.
I also was not a fan of how Rachel treated Mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like she used him to make her. She used him to make herself look like she was a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And because Mouth is, who he is, he completely bought into it. And he was like, yeah, I see the good in her. She's a good person. Because, Mouth sees the good in people. But I was like, no, honey, find new friends.
I always thought she was pretty genuine when it came to Mouth. Like, I know she left him in Honeygrove, and she has done her fair share. She's on my honorable mentions. I don't love her. But I feel like with Mouth, I feel like she really did care for Mouth, not ever in a romantic way. And I feel like she kind of led him that way when she shouldn't have. That was a bad move.
Mouth, though, he's the type of guy who didn't get girls' attention that much. So then when he did, he read too much into it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Like when he was like thinking he was getting together with Rachel, like the whole time I'm like, what are you? Don't be dumb. Like, don't be dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's just playing you, and not like in a mean way. Like,
and I mean, Brooke kind of played him too, if you want to play it that way. I mean, he just read too much into it.
Yep.
He was the nerdy guy, and when the pretty girl would pay attention to him, he thought that it was more than what it was, or I guess wishful thinking. He hoped that it was more than what it was. I love Mouth, though. I mean, you guys know I do. He was one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah. One thing that always pops up with me, like anytime we're mentioning these people, I'm trying to like think of like that one moment that, like, when you think about like Rachel, what's the first moment that pops into your head? Like mine with Rachel is, of course, it just blanked out of my mind the entire time I was leading up to this.
I got mine.
Go ahead with yours.
I don't say the word, but Haley slapped her straight in the face.
Oh, that was a good one too.
Did she throw a drink in her face too?
I can't remember.
I feel like there were drinks thrown maybe, but she definitely slapped her in the face. And I think the best look was just the look on Haley's face. I was like, ooh, that is scary. That is a scary, scary face. And then Skills is standing there, and he's just like, yep, you need to leave.
That's my favorite when Skills does that. That's another one. And we're talking about villains today, and we keep talking about all the people we love. This is an issue.
But because
I feel like they kind of go hand in hand, though.
The villains mess with the people we love, so we have to talk about them.
That's true. Skills, one of those people that he's so genuine in his love for his friends. And I just love that about Skills.
Unpopular opinion, I loved him and Deb.
I did too. No, I did too.
Oh, I did too.
I really think a lot of people did. It was weird. Yeah, but
it was it was awkward and weird, but I also liked it. I don't know how to explain that.
I feel like if he wasn't introduced as Nathan's friend and it was just some random guy from like another high school that like Nathan like played against in basketball or something like that, it would have been like a little bit better taken.
I did too. Man, what is my Rachel moment? Oh, I know which one it was. It was whenever she stole the money from Brooke.
Okay.
That one always felt like bothered me. One of the most things about Rachel. And she did worse stuff. But that's the one that always pops up to me, because not only did Brooke just legit save her life, she was giving her somewhere to go or to stay. And just, that was like the lowest of the low to Rachel to me.
And Brooke was giving her a chance when literally everyone else wanted to write her off. So it's like, that is a crappy way to thank someone for putting up with all of your nonsense.
Yeah, that was just that one rubbed me really wrong. And I didn't like how she treated Millie. That always irked me too, even though Millie ended up, I forgot how much I got mad at Millie during that whole modeling phase she went through. That was awful.
Yeah, it was. She So we all know I love Mouth. She got on my nerves, but then because like she always seems so genuine, and like she completely changed, like lickety split, she changed.
Yeah.
And then like season 9, when Mouth got fat, which was the stupidest storyline I've ever seen in my life.
I hated that.
She was such a jerk to him then too.
Yeah.
And like, even though it was a stupid storyline, if you love somebody, regardless of like if they gain weight or whatever, like you should still be there for them. You shouldn't break up with them. You shouldn't treat them like crap, regardless. You know what
Help
I mean?
them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, gaining weight in a relationship is normal. I mean, I can tell you, I gained weight since I started dating Kenny.
Most people do.
Mhm.
It's because you get comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So who?
Rachel is number 8.
My number 8 is Nikki.
See, I
Ooh,
didn't have
woman.
her on as enemies.
Oh, she irritated me when it came to Jenny.
I had her a little higher up. I hated her. There was nothing I liked about her character.
Nothing.
I like zero about her.
She took advantage of Lucas, first of all. And then she goes after Jake and Jenny, just after she wasn't in Jenny's life for that entire time. I know she was young, immature, whatever. Just abandoning your daughter, though, that always really rubbed me the wrong way with her. And I never forgave her. I never liked her. She never redeemed herself.
Yeah, I put her up a little bit higher on my list.
Where'd you have her?
And I had her up at number 6. And that's just because I did my list a little differently than you guys probably.
Yeah.
But the reason I put her up a little higher is because, you know, I've heard the actress talk she was on Drama Queens a few months ago. And she seems like a lovely person. She's very nice, or at least she seems that way. And I was like, she played a terrible character that I'm guessing no one in the OTH fandom likes at all.
No.
So good for her, because every time I see her face now, I'm like, ugh, it's Nikki.
I know. I do the same thing.
That poor woman. I'm sure she's a nice person, but every time I see her face, I'm like, that is the person who messed with Jake Jagelski, and I cannot forgive her.
Still to this day, if I see her in anything else, I do not like her. Like it's kind of the same thing you said. Like I feel really sorry for the actress because she took on that one part and changed it for me.
There's
that just means that she's a good actress.
Yeah, there's a character that we'll talk about later, I'm sure, that I feel the same way about. But the one thing about Nikki that I didn't like, the reason I didn't put her on the list is because I didn't really see her as a villain. Like, I mean, like, I get where you guys are coming from, but I guess, like, I didn't really see her that way. But, like, the one thing I didn't like her is that she pulled the mommy card to try to get Jenny back, even though she wasn't there for Jenny, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
She knew that her being Jenny's mom, she would get custody regardless of, like, the situation or whatever. And she pulled the mommy card, and even though Jake was the one that was there for her and she was not, she didn't even know what kind of diapers Jenny wore. Like,
I love the stuff that she bought at that store when he started taking it out. That was a little bit unbelievable to me. That she was buying that stuff for the baby. I'm like, anybody with any kind of freaking common sense.
Yeah, I remember that. No. I was like, well, to be fair, she doesn't know her daughter because she just took off, but also she doesn't know her daughter because she took off. Also, grow some common sense.
From the One Tree Hill creator side, I think they could have played that part a little bit better.
Yeah, like
they made it just really not believable.
Yeah, like they could have had her like buy diapers that were the wrong size, or like clothes
or that she's
that were
allergic
the wrong
to.
Size. Yeah.
You know, something like that, or like, you know, she can only use one wipes because she breaks out with other wipes, or she'll only use one type of bottle, or she hates monkeys. Like, that's just, there's other stuff you can play with than like buying adult things for a baby, because that, I can't even remember what she bought her, but it's just, I remember thinking it was really dumb.
I feel like with Nikki, there was a lot of potential for the writers to endear her to the fandom, maybe just a tiny bit, but I feel like she was just 100% villain. Like, that's all she was. And I feel like it was a missed opportunity, because I can see if they had just written her story a little differently, I could have grown to kind of like her a tiny bit.
And I think that also if they had played it a little bit better, Jake could have stayed. I mean, I guess it would change the entire story, because if Nikki wasn't so horrible, then Jake would have stayed. Then Peyton probably would have ended up with Jake, because I really think that Peyton and Jake would have been almost endgame.
I think they would have been endgame if Brian Greenberg hadn't left the show.
I mean, we can talk. I can talk crap all day about the creators of One Tree Hill, but we'll leave the drama queens to do that.
That is their title after all. So,
and they have every freaking right to. I mean, I'm 100% on their sides about this, but I'll let them talk about that. But they really did disappoint me with the whole Nikki character, because there wasn't any type of, we had no sympathy for her. And I feel like any character, even a villain, you get sympathy from them at some point, or you're just gonna have nothing but hatred for it. I mean, even, I'm sorry, but even like murderers on horror movies, they still even give you a little bit of a sympathy of like why they're like that. But with Nikki, it was like nothing. She was just evil to be evil.
There's nothing redeeming about her at all. Was that your number 8, Amanda?
Yes, that was my number 8. So what is your number 8?
Mine is Renee, who we talked about already. And we're not going to talk about her again. So
no, thank you.
Back to Shelby.
Shelby, what's your number 7?
Number 7, I had Victoria.
Me too.
Aw, you'll match.
I think we talked about her already with Amanda, didn't we?
We did. All right. So my number 7 was Katie Ryan.
Oh, I had hers 4.
Yeah, see, she's a villain. She's a good villain, and she did something horrible, but I'm not a huge Quinn and Clay fan.
She scared the crap out of me.
She played a really good villain.
She
really
scared
did.
the crap out of me. Like literally, like edge of the seat, like scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, that season, gosh, was it season 8 episode with the storm? Almost drowned.
I just watched it like a few weeks ago.
I think
I'm in season 8. I think it's
but yeah,
season
that
8.
episode where she was hiding in Clay's house and she had the knife and her hair was dripping. I was like, this is like a horror movie. So,
yeah.
Good job to that actress, and sorry, but you will always be Katie Ryan.
I've seen her different stuff, and she doesn't affect me like,
not like Nikki does.
Not more like Nikki does. And she wasn't even, I mean, Katie was.
She was crazy pants.
Oh my gosh. And like, oh, she was so insane. And her looking just like his, I can't remember her name now. What was his ex's? Sarah. That was.
She scared the crap out of me. Like, that's all that I'm going to say. Like, she scared the crap out of me. Like, I had nightmares between her and my number 1 person. Nightmares.
Can't wait to get to our number 1s. I think I know where everybody says.
She was a terrifying chick for sure.
She was. So, I mean, down from the, we didn't only get her in that one scene, but just the whole, like, from her playing tennis and doing with that, she turns around and he sees her for the first time and she just immediately attaches on to him. That was psychopath 101.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stalker. I mean, she was really up there, I think, with Ian Derek. But I feel like she was really up there with him when it came to the stalker villain, One Tree Hill type of villain. I feel like those two were pretty similar in villains in the show.
Okay, so you said Victoria was your number 7, right, Eve?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure we don't skip over you. So for me, number 6 was Dan.
He's higher on my list.
He's my number 1.
And I love Dan too much. He's not number 1.
My number 6 was Dan, and it's only because I did my list who I'm most afraid of, and I'm not afraid of him.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely trust Dan.
He was like, I think I would be afraid of him if he wasn't on my side, but I think if he was on my side, like, I'd be good. But like, he he was like one of those funny villains to me. Like he reminded me of almost like those Scooby-Doo villains that like you kind of run circles around.
Well, at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about Dan, like season 1, 2,
Oh, he was absolutely evil.
he was like, I didn't even like his character. Like, I didn't like anything about him. Like, he was a jerk to everybody. He always was plotting these plans against everybody that he thought was against them. I feel like he was the longest villain. He's not, like I said, he's not my number one, but I can see why he's Eve's number one, because he is like the longest villain.
Yeah, he is my number one because of the way that I did my list. Paul Johansson, hats off to him, because Dan could have been a very one note, just evil character. And he really brought layers upon layers to Dan's character. And he kind of put us in the position where sometimes we were like, oh, wait, do I like Dan now? Oh, no, now I don't like Dan. Okay, wait, now we're back to liking Dan. Do we like Dan? Now I'm confused. So, I mean, that poor man, every time I see his face, automatically I think Dan Scott. But yeah, I think he did a phenomenal job with that character. Like I said, it could have been very one note, but he brought so much to that character.
He did. He brought a lot of layers and depth to the Dan Scott character that you never, I mean, watching when he killed Keith, you never thought that he would ever have a redeeming story. Like when you first watched that for the first time, you're like, this guy is dead. He is off my list. And just how he wormed his way.
Because watching that the first time, I remember thinking there is no coming back from this.
No.
But
I mean, nobody ever like fully like trust. I mean, I'd probably trust him with a kid.
I did love his relationship with Jamie, because I truly feel that when he was finally allowed to be a part of Jamie's life, he saw Jamie as a second chance to be a good dad, because he knows that he messed up big time with Lucas, obviously. He messed up with Nathan. Yeah. And then here's Jamie, who has no idea, of all the bad things he's done. Well, at that point, he didn't know of any of the bad things he'd done. So I really feel like he saw this as a second chance to be a good dad. And I feel like he was a good grandfather. He was a terrible dad, but he was a good grandfather.
He was.
I'll give him that.
The one thing that I liked about the show, I'm a firm believer of letting someone make their own opinion about somebody, regardless of like what they do to you. And I love that Nathan and Haley, regardless of how terrible Dan was, let Jamie form his own opinion. Because Dan was a completely different person with Jamie.
Absolutely.
I mean, they still, had to they were still obligated to protect their kid. So they did a pretty good job of, walking that line of protecting him, but then also letting him form his own opinion, which was nice.
Yeah, because I can imagine how hard that would be to have your kid want to be with your dad who killed your uncle, who was a complete abusive father to you mentally, probably physically sometimes, I'm sure. And then being able to have the ability to let your kid even see them once, ever have them back in your life. That says something about them.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite moments with him and Jamie was when he was honest with him and said, yes, I did kill great uncle Keith. And then Jamie just said, I want to go home. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's like, sad. I don't want to go home. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And Dan was just like, okay, you can be mad at me. I get it. You're allowed to be mad at me. I did this terrible, terrible thing.
That was real. That actually broke my heart when I was like, oh, but he's so nice to you. Like Jamie should just be okay with Dan at that point. It's fine.
Like, I know he's a murderer, but he's so nice to you, so it's okay.
It's fine, Jamie. It's okay.
I do love later on. So right before Lucas and Peyton left. This was after Sawyer was born.
Yeah, so into season 6.
Yeah, he and Lucas were having conversation. I don't remember what Lucas's question was, but then Dan said, well, everyone's story has to have a villain. I'm sorry I had to be yours.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why, but that is a really good line.
It was. And it was so relevant. Oh, you know what? One of the other parts that kind of pops out with me for Dan is when he brings Jamie home after like the kidnapping and Lucas just decks him out in the driveway.
And then Nathan joins in.
That actually kind of really broke my heart because we just saw Dan like fight for Jamie and like save him and like bring him back. And then all of a sudden obviously he deserves it. He needs to be punched every once in a while. I think it grounds him. I don't know, just that moment of when he hit him was really hard. Like that was hard to watch for me. It made me like almost uncomfortable.
I think what was also hard about that scene as well was how Dan just accepted it. He was like, yep, I deserve that. I'm not going to fight it.
You know, another
he was just sitting there allowing himself to be beat up by his two kids. And I'm like, this is interesting.
That's because he was a smart man.
Is he going to leave?
Another, sometimes men need that though. Let's be honest. Not just Dan. Sometimes men need that. Another thing that stands out to me about Dan too is when the dog eats his heart. All of you guys said that I was evil because I literally laughed out loud when that happened.
I did too. The very first time it happened, I did laugh.
It's funny every single time. Like,
Jeanette told me I was evil.
It never gets old. Well, Jeanette's no fun.
I laughed out loud. Like I hated Dan at that point, and I laughed out loud. Like I was like, "Ha! You don't deserve a heart. You don't have a heart anyway." Like
it just made it so much better that Lucas was sitting right there and got to see it for himself.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh man," because that just made Lucas's day.
Like this will be a fun story to tell my brother later.
Yeah.
But like another dramatic thing though, like when he threw the pager into the ocean and he just like kind of gave up, like that was another thing that like that part got me like feeling bad for him though, even though I just laughed at him about getting the heart eaten. Like, it made me feel bad for him because I'm like, oh, now you've given up hope. Like,
you're a very complicated person, Shelby.
I'm very complex. Thank you for noticing.
All right, what's number are we on? We obviously
6.
had to talk a while about Dan, but
Eve, that was my 6.
That was your 6.
Mm-hmm.
My 6 is Dimitri.
Oh, Dimitri.
I don't think I had Dimitri. I don't even remember who Dimitri is. I don't remember who
he's the one who kidnapped him in season 9.
Isn't that Dante?
No.
Dante is the basketball one.
He was the one who...
Oh, crap. I mixed them up. I meant crap. Okay, never mind. It's okay.
You know what? I actually had to look it up because I do get those two confused.
I mixed them up. I thought that so never mind. We'll get to it when we get to it. Go ahead, Dimitri.
All right, so I don't really have actually that much to say about Dimitri other than
he's evil.
He was very evil, but like I said, I've only seen season 9. I knew he deserved to be up on my list, and he's number 6 because I like other villains better that I feel like played a more villainy villain. I feel like Dimitri was kind of a short-lived one where he was really evil, but it was for a very short time. And that's why he's lower on my list. And also he got what was coming to him. Kind of feel bad for him. Is he on y'all's list? Is he not on y'all's list? Where is he?
I forgot
he was supposed to, but I mixed up him and Dante.
Oh, well, Dante needs to stay on your list too because he was evil as well.
I thought that I had him as number 3.
But you have Dante as number 3?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thoughts about Dimitri, y'all?
He was definitely evil. He got what was coming to him.
I mean, he was on for such a short time. There's really not much else to say about it.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on from Dimitri because I don't think either of us really want to talk about him. We don't like him.
He's evil for sure, but that's it.
He is. He deserves to be on our list. He is evil. He obviously played a very good villain because we hate him. So, I mean, good job to the actor. He made us believable.
And he was scary. So
he was really freaky.
I had him on number 3 because he scared the crap out of me. Well, I thought I had him on number 3. Apparently I don't because I mixed up the names, but I thought I had him on number 3 because he scared the crap out of me. Eve, who's your number 6?
Mine was Nikki.
Okay. So number 5, I have Nanny Carey. And this was like a horror movie for me too, to an extent, and she scared the crap out of me too.
That cornfield
But-
was a horror shot.
Yes. And I was like texting Jeanette the whole entire time. And I was like, listen, like, I can't do this. Like, why do you have me watching this? But Tori DeVito, kudos.
Ooh.
Because
Ooh.
she, when we were talking about Nikki and you guys said that like whenever you see her
Yep.
face, that's how I feel about Tori DeVito. Because when we were watching Med and she was a pediatrician, and I'm like, why is Nanny Carey taking care of children?
Yeah, every time she was alone in a room like with a child, I'm like, somebody stop
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, like when there was this one episode on Med where there's a little boy that she's taking care of, and she was alone in there with him. And I was texting Jeanette, I was like, please tell me that Nanny Carey does not kidnap this kid. And she's like, wrong show, Shelby.
I remember watching that cornfield episode, and I was watching it with my mom. My mom like she loves One Tree Hill. I was watching with my mom, and she said, "What in the heck kind of show is this?" I was like, "It's a teen drama. Aren't you paying attention?" She was like, "This is not a teen drama. This is a horror movie." She's like, "That lady is crazy." Like,
That one
yeah.
was like her kidnapping Dan, and the whole like time she was playing nurse to him.
It was all very creepy.
Like that was just full on psychotic break crazy.
So good job, Tori
And
DeVito.
feeding him the bugs.
Oh, that was another
Ugh.
really good Dan moment, by the way, is whenever
Oh man, Shelby, I'd forgotten about that. Thanks a lot.
oh, I didn't.
Ugh.
I just tried to forget about it, but
Leave it to me to say
Right.
what everyone's thinking and not want to say.
that was another good redeeming Dan moment. All right.
Number 5, Amanda.
Nanny Carey.
Oh, twinsies.
Oh, twinsies. We had the same number 5s.
Number 5, Eve.
Eve.
Katie.
Katie
Okay.
Ryan. I always have to say her full name. I don't know why. It's Katie Ryan.
This is
Sounds
kind
like
of
a
nice.
television news anchor.
This is nice that we have so many of the same people. We can just keep rolling.
Yeah. All right. Number 4, I had Katie.
Okay. My number 4 was Dan.
Okay.
My number 4 was Psycho Derek.
Oh, I had him for number 1.
He's my number 3.
Okay, here's the thing with Psycho Derek. Maybe it was a totally different time, but a webcam rolling in your room nonstop, 24/7. Like, what is this girl thinking?
That it was actually a lot more common back then, though. Like creepy. I feel like parents now are much more aware of internet safety than they were just back then, because it was kind of still like it was new.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, it was new. You
Yeah,
didn't really think about the consequences to it.
I wasn't born back then.
I knew
Yes, you were.
I knew that something was totally off about Psycho Derek. And, you know,
Yeah, I didn't like him
Of course,
from the
I call him
get-go.
Psycho Derek because what was his real name? I never even remember.
Ian.
Ian.
Yeah, I don't think we learned his real name until like the very last time we saw him, right? So, yeah, Psycho Derek, the first time we saw him, I was like, do not let your guard down. This guy is going to do something creepy. And
Yep.
I was right. I like being right sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I was mad because I totally trusted him. And then that happened. And he's my number 1 because I had nightmares about him too.
Yeah, he was another that tattoo on his back alone puts him up on my list of just pure creepiness.
Mhm.
Did we have anything else to say about Psycho Derek?
Just that he literally gave me nightmares, and his whole,
Okay.
I think the one scene that like sticks in my head, like whenever I hear Psycho Derek, is him chasing Brooke and Peyton through the house in their dresses with like the blood all over it and stuff.
Mine's the scene
that's-
when he goes out the window.
Yeah, but that's the scene that pops into my head, and that's the scene that I always have the nightmares about too.
He was a creepy, creepy dude.
He really was. And the whole backstory on that was so sad. Like you almost see there it is. You got some sympathy with him. Even though he was so evil, you still had a little bit of sympathy because he had gone through something so traumatic. Did it excuse what he did? No, not at all. I hate the guy. but you still got that little bit of sympathy where like Nikki, you never did. All right. So who was what number? That was your number 4?
Yeah, that was my number 4.
Your number 4. Shelby, who's your number 3?
My number 3 was supposed to be Dimitri, but I have Dante.
Mm.
So do we want to just talk about Dante while we're here?
Yeah, he's my number 2.
So Dante, he was evil too. He was the basketball guy, even though I mixed up who he was. And he was like a loan shark, right? Am I right about that?
Yes, he was alone.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Dante was especially evil to me because, well, I keep saying everybody's especially evil. Dante, like, I don't want to say I wasn't like mad at him because I mean, he hurt Haley really bad, made Lucas have a heart attack, and made Nathan almost go to jail. He did a lot of bad stuff. But on the other hand, Nathan kind of put himself in this position and got involved with somebody that he really should not have gotten involved with in the very first place. So he didn't he did actually kind of seek Nathan out, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I believe
He
so.
didn't seek him out, but he did.
If I remember right, he kind of manipulated the situation a little bit and made Nathan like agree to it.
I think he also took advantage of the fact that he knew Nathan was desperate.
But that's kind of what loan sharks do, though.
They do. Nathan should have never freaking fallen for these antics or have agreed to it. And I also think this was kind of one of those parts where you kind of like Dan because I think Nathan went to Dan too late. I think if Nathan would have gone to Dan and said like, hey, this guy is threatening me. He wants me to lose the game, and explained everything kind of how he did later on. I think if he had done that earlier with Dan, I think Dan could have actually solved the situation a little bit more. But who wants to go to Dan and tell him anything? So I can't really blame Nathan for that either. Dante was just a bad guy. I mean, he not only manipulated Nathan, he ran over Haley, gave Lucas a heart attack because of it, damaged poor Nathan's nerves, I think, and his hands. Or no, was that? Yeah, because he thought he killed him, right? Yeah. But also, Dan, we had Dan going in there and like saving the day and taking the blame for this, even though he was already dead when Nathan pulled him out of the car. That we later find out Nathan didn't kill him. But it was like a good moment to see Dan take up for Nathan and protect him when you really didn't get to see that too much before.
Mm-hmm.
So Dante did play the good villain. I mean, not the good villain. Dante did play a good villain.
I agree. He was a terrible, terrible dude. He was a big villain. But from that storyline comes one of my favorite scenes with Nathan, and that's when he looks into the stands and blindly throws the basketball and it goes straight in.
Yep. I do love that scene.
Every single time I go, yes. And then I
Yep.
remember, oh, shoot, bad things are going to happen next.
My number 3, though, was Eric.
Psycho Derek?
Uh-huh. Oh. Or Eric, as I like to call him sometimes.
Psycho Derek. It has a nice ring to it.
Apparently.
Who was your number 3, Eve?
Mine was Nanny Carey.
Okay. So my number 2 was X.
Me too.
Don't
What was
tell
your
me you
number
didn't put
1?
Psycho Derek.
Oh, okay. No, Xavier was my number 1. That man almost gave me nightmares.
He gave me nightmares too. That's why he was in the top 3.
The look in his eyes.
That's the dead face I'm talking
Holy
about.
moly. That actor deserves an award for playing Xavier.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else.
Good.
I don't think I have either.
I don't want
But
to see him anything else.
I do feel bad for that actor because now every time, if I did see him somewhere else, I'd be like, Xavier, everyone
I'd
back
probably
away.
scream and turn the TV off.
Guys, I figured out why I thought that Dante was Dimitri.
Why?
That actor played in a different show and his name was Dimitri.
Oh, that's
What show?
cute.
Empire.
No, I only watched a little bit of it and watch all of it. I mean,
That
Dante,
was-
Dimitri, they're similar-ish in names as well. So,
Yeah.
They start with the same first sound.
yeah.
But anyway, X. So he was psycho, and what he did to Brooke and
Sam,
like
Jack, that
Tara.
alone, that would have made him evil.
Mhm.
But then he
knowing
came back,
that he killed Q, that's why he's on my number 1 list.
and he
Justice
came
for
back.
Q.
and he came back. When I remember the first time I watched, I said, "Oh my God, he's back! Why is he back?"
They should not have brought him back, by the way.
Well,
I feel like that was a good ending for him after Brooke almost killed him.
I don't know. I think I feel like with season 9, I don't understand the purpose of it. All it was a season full of random stories that never fit together. And I'm not even sure why they did season 9, because James Lafferty couldn't even be in more than a handful of episodes, which is why they had him kidnapped.
Yeah, that was the whole. They should have ended it at season 8 and not have even tried to make a season 9.
The season 8 finale would have been a great ending.
I know.
It would have been a great series finale, but
always drove me insane. That's why I need to watch. Wow, I need to rewatch season 9 just because I'm a true fan, and if I feel like a true fan, you should just watch them even if you don't like it. But yes, all right. Well, that was number 1.
That was 2 for me.
That was 2. That was 1 for me. Eve, that yours number 1 was Dan.
My number 1 was Dan.
Okay.
My number 1 was Psycho.
All right, so that's it. I think we actually kind of covered all of them too. Anybody have an honorable mentions?
Yeah,
I do.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Eve.
Now, before anyone comes at me and tells me how much they hate me for putting this person on my list, I need to explain. One of my honorable mentions is, let's be clear, season 1 Nathan, because season 1 Nathan and seasons 2 through 9 Nathan are 2 very different people.
Absolutely. The way he treated Peyton at the beginning, if he ever treated Haley like that, I think Nathan would have disappeared mysteriously and never have been seen again.
Haley would have gotten rid of him much easier than that Dimitri did.
Yeah. Like I kind of agree with you. Nathan, season 1 Nathan was a villain.
And the reason I did add him to my honorable mentions is because holy cow, that growth that he made just from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 1, incredible.
I think that was a lot of Haley and Lucas though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really think that Lucas played a part in that, and Haley too. But I think if Nathan and Lucas were like brothers, I think that he would have been a better person from the jump. Yeah. But I think that because he was raised by Dan and Lucas was raised by Karen, Lucas was raised to be a better man. And I think that kind of rubbed off on him then, like after he saw.
Nathan really did have Dan's back through, what was that? I can't even think about, like, what was the final straw that Nathan just gave up on Dan? Because it wasn't at the beginning. He would still like defend Dan when it came to Lucas. Now we all know he hated Dan, but
I wanted to say when they found out that he's the one who killed Keith, but that sounds too easy. Was there something else?
Okay, that was where my mind went to. I was like, I feel like that was the final straw, but I also feel like that was like further along, and I feel like he kind of like lost hope in Dan probably when he emancipated
himself.
Thank you. I know the word. I could not get it out.
I don't know.
Himself.
I don't know. Even after that, though, he was still he was still defending Dan, even after he emancipated himself. Every once in a while, their relationship was obviously rocky.
Wasn't it when he was so mean to Haley? Remember he was calling Haley like all kinds of names and stuff?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that specifically, but I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me. It sounds like something Dan would do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, I'm trying to think, because you remember like when Lucas started getting kind of close to Nathan, and Nathan was like, no, he's a bad guy. Like, you need to stay away from him. That was like before Keith died too.
But see, I feel like to an extent, coming from someone that kind of has toxic parents, you want to defend your parents because those are your parents, regardless of how bad you know that they are.
Yeah.
And I think that Nathan kind of had, in a way, like the Stockholm syndrome, kind of like he didn't see, like he saw how bad it was, but he didn't comprehend how bad it was. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like he knew that what was going on was crappy, especially after he was with Haley, and like Haley was like showing him like this isn't how things have to be.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's still your parents, and he was raised to respect his parents.
And I think another thing too with, Lucas and Nathan, Nathan, well, let's start with Lucas first. With Lucas, it was always very black and white, his relationship with Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Dan is a terrible father. I'm done with him. That's the end of that. But then with Nathan, there was always shades of gray where Dan was concerned. And because he was raised by Dan, and for a long time, he didn't know any different, those shades of gray, those don't go away.
I just keep trying to think of what was like the break in the camel's back, because I just don't feel like it was Keith. I feel like that was so far along. Because every time I rewatched One Tree Hill, I also feel like Keith died way earlier than he does.
I feel like there are so many instances where
I think it did have something to do with Haley. I think it has something to do with Haley.
Because Dan talked mean to Haley. I forget what he said, but like,
oh no, I think we're thinking about the beach house where she threw up all over him. Was that it? Did he talk mean to her then?
I don't know.
That was pretty funny. Love that scene.
Well, she was drunk, so I'm not sure she cared if he was mean to her.
There was lots of times, but I mean, also with when Nathan was working at the dealership and Dan wouldn't allow him to. They were in pretty bad terms then.
I don't know. They went through.
Hey, if anybody in the group knows,
they went through so many ups and downs. It's really hard to pinpoint anything. So, if anyone in the groups know,
was there a specific point? I'm sure that I'll probably rewatch and be like, oh yeah, there it was.
Yeah, you have to let us know when you figure out what it was, because I'm very curious now.
I will. You guys, I am not starting over till I'm done with 9. I was like, maybe I'll start over again.
We'll see about that.
No, I'm already halfway through 8. I just gotta get through it.
You can do it. And season 9 is short, so you can do it.
Okay, I have another honorable mention.
Oh, who?
Deb.
I
loved Deb. Okay, let's get this
I even
straight.
liked Evil Deb.
I loved Deb, but she was a little villainous. She was very manipulative.
She was.
And she was very condescending. And she, especially when she was on her pills, but she was also hilarious. She was kind of like Dan when it comes to being a villain, because she was funny, but the one thing that really stood out to me when she was being evil, I guess, kind of, was her and Dan's little face off with the election, and how they were just doing stuff to get underneath each other's skin. That was hilarious. But the stuff that she was doing, there was so much thought in it, and premeditation, that to me just puts her into a villainous spot, because she literally there's so much thought behind the stuff that she would do.
Man, when her and Karen got up there and messed with that billboard,
I love that.
When she took her shirt off and stood up there in just that black bra, I was like, good Lord, I think I fell in love.
Mm-hmm. And she's the one that set fire to Dan's shop and almost killed Dan too.
That's very true, actually. I always forget she did that.
Yeah.
You know what? Eve was making fun of me today because I forgot that Jimmy's not the one that actually killed Keith.
Anyway, moving on. So that was all of our top 10 characters.
So make sure to tune into our Facebook group, One Tree Hill Scott Family Fan Club. We can come over there, continue the conversation, keep us up on our toes, and answer the questions we asked in the podcast. And make sure to tune in every week for our podcast. We've got new episodes coming at you every week.
Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Bye.
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 Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, FamilyFanClub 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.